Thanks for joining us once again. This is Greg. Today we focus on new developments for the Tesla semi-truck. As you know, we have our scale model here. Among those developments is the fact that they're now testing double trailers, but they're also testing long distance cabs capable of sleeping facilities. And so we wanted to review what's going on with this, etc. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Thanks once again for joining us. If this is your first time, welcome. If you're a repeat visitor, welcome back. We also want to thank our Patreon supporters. If you enjoy the show, would like some better ideas on investing and trading, please join us on Patreon. So at least once a month, but it'll be more frequently as we head into the start of production at scale for the semi next year, we like to introduce some ideas relative to what's going on in the truck and new developments. In this case, we're sort of dovetailing a little bit with our discussion of what's going on with the stock price. Now, if you don't know this, if Tesla's semi was a separate company, it would add the equivalent of between $100 and $200 a share to Tesla's stock price, because not only is it about are they generating revenue, but the speed of growth of that revenue. So the semi by itself is capable of delivering, 2, 3, 5 times growth each year, starting from where it has been this past year and heading into the future for the next few years because of the amount of demand. So therefore, its PE ratio would be a lot higher than Tesla in general. So I would not be surprised if analysts have begun baking the numbers related to sales of the Tesla semi into what they're estimating the value of Tesla entirely is, even though the number of units produced has not been huge. Most of the analysts for the large funds and institutions are looking at sort of potential revenue and earnings 1, 2, 3 years out, and clearly this semi falls into that space as we get to scale. So you'll notice that we chose to not only show you the video of the double trailer at full speed, we also showed it at slow speed. And if you're really a Tesla semi fan, you may want to go back and take a look at a few points there. Point number one, please note, there are obviously 2 trailers, not one. I have to say I'm very, very surprised by that decision. The main reason is that no matter how you slice it, this thing is in very, very short supply. But I suppose they do have to be prepared in case there are clients that choose to run it in a 2 or even a 3 trailer configuration that would enable you to do many other things. From the research I did on this, there are several reasons to do a double trailer, several reasons not to do it. The main reasons are you can tow more freight if you go about this route. It's also a more comfortable ride for the driver. And then there's one of the things I noticed is that there are some sort of company owners I know that deliberately choose a double trailer or even triple trailers, because if you produce at a factory and then you send trucks out a long distance from that factory in the 200 to 500 mile range, you can now have a trailer dropped off and another truck can leave with that smaller trailer, and the amount of time consumed is very low for that to happen, and then you could simply do that reverse trip to go back to the factory and pick up more inventory. So I have to say congratulations to Tesla for sort of changing up. I have to say there are several reasons. I'll do 3 that I'm surprised by this. The first one is, from my command of what's going on here, you could choose any of the companies that currently have to operate in California. That could be SAIC, that could be Pepsi, it could be Walmart. There are a whole bunch of companies you could choose from. But all these companies by 2035 have to transition transition their fleet, but on an increasing basis. So this year it's 10%, next year, let's say it's 20 or 25%. So all of these entities have to transition their fleets until they go fully, I was going to say electric, but it could be hydrogen. The idea is zero emissions in California relative to the pollution rules. So I'm very surprised to see Tesla's move, because given the amount of demand that there is for these vehicles and the fact that competing entities are not able to deliver solutions at the quality that Tesla's at, suggests that there's a lot of opportunity for Tesla to move huge numbers of vehicles as the restrictions become greater on companies in their fleets in order to operate in certain places. One additional sort of fleet that I expect to start seeing images from the Tesla Semi on is the fact that you're no longer able in California to purchase motorhomes that are not electric, so you can't register them as of 2025. You can register older ones, but not new ones. And because 11 other states have adopted similar rules, I believe there's going to be huge demand for vehicles from that market segment of RVers who need a vehicle, and hooking a Tesla Semi as the front end of those vehicles is likely to be a solution that's chosen by many companies. Now, there are three kind of like what's going on here. Number one, clearly there's a shortage of vehicles. There's a large number of companies interested with large fleets that they would like to transition to electric trucks, and Tesla sits right in the middle of that. There are other options. Obviously, Volvo, the largest competitor in that space, is e-Cascadia, which is created by the Freightliner division of Daimler Trucks. So, in theory, yes, there's plenty of market share because there aren't very many trucks out there that are electric. The second issue that pops up for me with this vehicle is Elon indicated to us that his goal with the Tesla Semi was to do sort of short-haul trucking. So he pointed out that 70% of all the trucking is done on a 250-mile radius on a daily basis. So the reason why the initial Semi came in a configuration that didn't have a sleeper or have space, really a good space. They do have space for a second driver, but in terms of well organized for that second driver, that was not the case, because he indicated that the goal was more things like how Pepsi's using the vehicle, which is you're going from a factory, you're hitting 2 or 3 grocery stores, coming back to the factory, and then hitting another group of grocery stores if the route wasn't too long for that one driver, and doing those same routes on a daily basis. So what it looks like now, one, because of the double trailer, and you can haul more freight, but number two, interesting, strange development is that Tesla now has an extended cab that includes a sleeper area, so the truck is now being prepared for trips longer than the sort of 250-mile radius that Tesla had discussed. So I was kind of surprised by this, because it's definitely needed. It's an important component of what goes on when it comes to long distance trucking, but I still say it makes no sense, because from what I'm seeing, hearing, the backlog for this truck is going to be multi-year for the United States, and the same in Europe and other parts of the world that will want it as well. So as a result, I'm sort of scratching my head going like, Elon, what are you doing right now? Another sort of head scratcher is the fact that California is using the money that they got from the settlement with VW for the fake emissions tests in order to fund this program to actually help fleets pick up as many as 30 to 50 electric vehicles to help their fleets get started in the process of becoming emissions free. And right now, the leader of the pack is actually Freightliner's e-Cascadias being distributed to a number of fleets, especially in the Port of Los Angeles and Port of Long Beach, where there's a lot of drayage action, moving containers off the docks and inland to a whole bunch of different locations. So I have to say congrats on this new vehicle. I was of the impression that if you come in and your expected price is $125,000 to $150,000 for electric vehicles, and then now Tesla's arriving with, let's say, a $300,000 vehicle plus the $1 million cost of the charging facilities that might go with that fleet, you now have a situation where there aren't that many companies immediately that will jump on that, because the profit margins are kind of low for grocery stores and some of those entities that have that distribution system. But the question mark is, how are those numbers going to work? Why are they going to work? The one answer I'm coming up with is, if Tesla delivers on its promise of 1 million miles per truck, what this allows is for the truck to be, in fact, leased for the first 3 to 5 years. And in theory, that's about 100,000 miles per year times 3 years or 5 years, depending. And now those vehicles would come off of a lease and could be purchased at a lower price by sort of the buyers that would be using that vehicle from the 500,000 to the 1 million mile range that's been listed on those trucks. So this, therefore, in theory, would cut in half the sort of working cost of the truck, and therefore would make it more affordable. And that's coming in for a used truck at about $150, maybe $175. And now if you look at all the other advantages, it now starts to become competitive with, a brand new sort of ICE vehicle. So we'll see how all this plays out. But what we really wanted to do was today make this announcement that it looks like Tesla is expanding the range of types of semis that it's putting out. We're seeing, if you look at the photo, you'll see that the front cab is extended to provide a sleeping area for the second driver. You're also seeing that obviously they're running double trailers, and we also want to, the badging is there for the company that provided video. Much appreciated, an excellent job getting more information as these trucks are coming out of the assembly line in Reno currently. So overall, I would say this is great news. Elon doesn't seem to be real worried about how fast these trucks are being turned out. I believe, based on what I'm hearing on numbers, we actually have a backup of Cybertrucks that are available currently. So as a result of that, Tesla is going to start making decisions about how to use production capacity not being used by the Cybertruck. As you also may have noted, the number of Cybertrucks being sold seems to be cannibalizing the Model X and Model S sales. So in theory, Tesla will have extra capacity at its 2 US plants to produce more semis if it so chooses. And I think that'll allow them to establish a larger footprint with the semi and drive some nice numbers in the process. There's still a huge question mark about the semi. As you know, we've been discussing this for a while. Elon indicated that he was not necessarily thrilled about the semi as a focal point of the company, because the last sales number for the quarter was 500,000 vehicles of all types for Tesla. And the fact is that the semi, all semis theoretically globally is about 2 million vehicles a year for that Class 8 vehicle size. And when it comes to cars, there are 100 million cars sold each year. Hence the reason why Tesla/Elon is focused on the impact that you have by moving large numbers of cars versus trying to move vehicles in the semi space. Nonetheless, I think it's a huge opportunity. It's great to see the pollution reduction that goes with it. And one last note here is that Tesla is now creating a level 4 charger network that runs between the Fremont factory into Southern California through Arizona and along Highway 10 all the way into the Tesla factory in Austin, Texas. And so as that route is developed and executed, I think it allows parts, et cetera, to start moving between the two on the Tesla Semi. And it's a pretty rigorous distance, but the level 4 charging that's being installed can be used by the Tesla vehicles, and it can be used by other entities that are buying from Tesla as well without having to pay for their own $1 million charging facilities for their trucks. It also does give you a backup option in case you suddenly run out of power, it gets too cold, too hot, whatever it might be, that might have affected the range of those vehicles. So it looks like Tesla's starting to build a network that'll service semi-drivers as well as their people are served when they're just driving regular Tesla vehicles. At any rate, I want to thank you once again for joining us for the vehicle portion of our discussion. Next, I'd like to move over to our health tips for the day. Just a reminder, 20-minute walk every day helps with endorphins and other elements of health. Also want to encourage you to do 25 leg lifts a day with or without a weight as a way to strengthen the quad muscles, therefore reducing the chance of operations for your knees. As you saw in my last video, I'm still learning more about using olive oil or coconut oil or avocado oil instead of some of the other seed oils in terms of potential impact on health. At any rate, I want to thank you for taking time out to join us today. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Tschüss, au revoir, lahitro, hodahafis, drasiche, ni hao ma, konbanwa, arrivederci, namaste. And in Jamaica, we say enough respect, walk, good man. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day, and bye for now.